Hobkirk actually is from Huddersfield. I hadn't found this out before, which it didn't really matter because I was more interested in like just the account of the Warriors tomb. But he was actually a bank manager in Huddersfield, but he was giving a lot of lectures and things like that. So he informs us about the Warriors tomb in his book. This is before the Victoria Tower gets built on Castle Hill. Now, also, a copy of his book, his natural history book, was placed hermetically in a sealed leaden box, which was inserted into a cavity of the foundation stone of the Mechanics' Institute on Northumberland Street. So a copy of his book, an original copy of his book, is in there. As a time capsule during the stone laying ceremony in October 1859. This is before the Victoria Tower was built. Other items placed in the box included a copy of the Times, Leeds Mercury, Huddersfield Chronicle and Huddersfield Examiner newspapers when it was liberal. The annual report of the Institute of 1859 and several coins. There might be some interesting information in those copies of those newspapers of what was going on around the time and other stories reported, you know. But there's probably a copy of them in the archives anyway. When you see what else is going on, it explains a lot usually. So, I think that book, and then he goes on some walks, some well-known walks that they go on, past the Blackmoorfoot Reservoir around Marsden and Honley Woods, which is actually near where that stone circle's meant to be in Crossland Moor, but I don't know if he mentioned that or not. Specimens of mosses and leaching. So, I think that his book, I didn't realise he was from Huddersfield. So he's actually from Huddersfield. So he's local, and that book definitely has sparked, people will have read it all over the country. So it will have sparked some interest in the area. I think that's why they ended up wanting to build a Victoria Tower, because he mentions that warrior's tomb, but he makes it sound very, very, very interesting and remarkable, probably more so than Castle Hill at the time. Didn't have the tower on it, except from, you see, the best view from Castle Hill, for the spectacular view of it, is actually from Hopton, you know, although it's still pretty decent view from town as well. But the thing is, he does the reservoir walk at Meltham. That reservoir, by that time, that reservoir had already been built, that Blackmoorfoot Reservoir. In my opinion, that reservoir was the first strike, because I think that Meltham chap, Dunelm, I think that is really is a religious pilgrimage site with all the liberties going around it, and the fact that it's a natural long barrow form in formation with Castle Hill, like two long barrows, and then the warriors' tomb, like three sites. It was around Marsden. It's going around there as well. I think, I don't know who was behind that reservoir being built, because I think at this stage, Ramsden's got quite a lot of land. I don't know if it extended as far as Meltham or not. So that and there was some digging into the side of it. I think that reservoir built next to actually where the main does that land there is sort of prime land. Then you see he writes this book and he mentions Warrior's tomb, so people didn't really know about it. Now, prior to that book being published, people who were from the area wouldn't probably have known a lot about it, but it sparked a lot of interest. You see, what maps were available at that time? You've got Jeffries, John Speed. You see, Jeffries' map's got Camberdunham on it, but it doesn't really put too much interest in that warrior mound, because it doesn't draw it to the proper shape. It says Dives House on it. And it's got Dunelm on it on Jeffries' map, but it doesn't really it's just like it doesn't really necessarily stand out. The shape of it's not even right on that map. But that, you see that speed map with that really, really pronounced mound on it, Hobkirk must have had a copy of that and known that it's got very steep sides on it, because that would have been one of the available maps that people had to work with. So speeds map from 1600s, and it's not in the right place. It's like Art said. He must have known that. What's that drawing doing on there? You see, he actually mentions it in his book being at Dalton. So, if you're in London or anywhere else and you get a copy of his published printed book in the late 1800s, and then you read this account of this extraordinary... If you're interested in any ancient sites, there were lots of interested in ancient sites around that time. It's when all the Irish places were getting dug up, pretending they're looking for gold, but all the really valuable part, the ancestors' bones, bodies, which is tomb. You know, what would you do now if you started going into the cathedral and pulling, pulling sarcophaguses of knights to bits, in York Cathedral, pulling bones out for anyone around, they won't be right impressed. They'd call the police, You don't do that. It's sacred, isn't it? It's religious. That's why you've got United Nations religious protection. There definitely is. That's what you see. And then some people will have gone, oh, well, let's have a look on the map. People, if his book's published, and then they will want to have a look at the maps, the only maps that they would have had would have been Jeffrey's and Speed's primarily. There was some other ones, but they're the main reference maps. So people would have looked at it and gone, hey, just a minute, what's that massive thing there? Well, that's not Dalton, is it? It's Art said, I already think there was something going on with that reservoir. I think that was really the first, although, you might as well go back to 1066, and when it's getting fortified, if you really want to go back. But that reservoir, and then I think that sparked some interest in London, and that's why then this mysterious organisation popped up wanting to build towers, And then they started off with Heights of Abraham. And then the whole thing with Ramsden and Copley and Imperial Chemical Industries. So Hobkirk is Huddersfield, and he moved over to Dewsbury then later on. So everyone will that book will have been published in circulation. So there's a copy of it. Now, what I think is also worth mentioning as well. I have spoken to a guy on the Megalithic Portal website, not Andy Burnham, one of the other people on there, and he's told me he's a dowser, and there's something at that end of Castle Hill. There's some natural fault line or feature at an altitude that is known about and recorded, and it's exactly under where they decided to build the tower. It's meant to have been the remains of a place of worship or burial mound or something like that. Now, it's interesting that Hobkirk gets this book laid in the foundation stone in the Mechanics Institute with a copy of his book and time capsule and other things. And then it's not long till 1899, just the turn of 1900, when then this tower competition comes up. And then there's all this foundation stone celebration of laying building the tower. But why do they choose to build it on that corner at that side when some people know about? There might have been something there, some sort of ancient religious section of it, either a burial or remains of something like that at that side of it. Although, we've got the whole thing with the, medieval village and that, but there is record of something being there, some sort of religious temple or site. It might have even had a clog teach built on it, a tower, which we haven't got any written records of. it's interesting. Why does Beaumont build that Clogteach copy at Grange Moor? And he says rebuilt. Why would he say rebuilt? Would he completely and totally make it up out of nothing and lie? Or was there some sort of... You see, that's in the 1700s, you know? Where are the written records? I mean, have the Beaumont estate got any letters or any writings between the Beaumonts to anyone else? What happened with that? We know there's some sort of history with Beaumont, you know, but he was liberal, and that's what that building is. It's a liberal symbol, and there was those Clogteach books going around with the diagrams and specifications of them. I know that because it's widely known. They went round. But why does he say rebuilt? It's definitely a folly. There's no doubt about that. There's some other ones around England as well, on other liberal lands. But why does he say rebuilt? You know, did they know about, you know, what were there more of those Clogteachers around England and Scotland besides the Irish ones? You know, was there one on Castle Hill as part of that medieval village? We don't exactly know what the medieval village consisted of, you know, or... You know, there's definitely some record. But the thing is, with that tower built there, we can't do archaeological excavations. And it's not until after the Victoria Tower's built until Varley excavates. He excavates at Ilford, it's already got a building on it, right in the place where the place where there is of interest of a religious previous site in which section of it, which is rather ridiculous. And then, I don't know what happens, the war kicks off. Well, I don't know what happens, I know exactly what happens. The war kicks off when Varley starts excavating, World War II, and what happens for those 6 years while the war's breaking out? Why isn't he excavating the warriors, which heavily is mentioned and features in Hobkirk's book? When Varley's from Huddersfield as well, you know? What is happening? And they're all meant to be liberals, you know. Do they not really want to mention it or go into it too much because of, you know, what happens? Is that why Speed didn't draw it in the right place? Because when it does get mentioned, like in Hobkirk's book, is when you get this interest. I mean, to be honest, how that reservoir ended up being there in the 1700s, I think it was, at Meltham. Why has it got attention to there? Well, you know, you could have had it anywhere. There is, you know, some Speed's map and Jeffrey's map reveal the sites on there, but not really the Warriors. Mainly Camber Dunham, definitely known about anyway by the locals, but that's on the map, so people will know about it nationally and internationally. And that very strange drawing on Speed's map, which doesn't put it in the right place. But it definitely puts some very serious and important, prominent-looking feature, which isn't on anywhere else on that page at all, or anything too similar like it on any of the other pages. It's unique. You know, it's... You know, I've set out my reasoning, but I'm still dubious about the Civil War anyway, because a lot of these wars, you know, I think have started... There's usually... Oh, we've got sirens now. There's usually a lot of money. The thing is, right, when you have a war, right, you get... when you have a war, you get lots of rebuilding and lots of money being spent in not only tax and revenue, but companies and businesses. Now, as it turns out, who owns the companies and businesses and who's out to make money, right? Who owns all the contractors and the shares in the contractors and the builders as it comes into the shares and stocks when it adds up is this aristocracy ring, which is essentially the British aristocracy who keep saying they ain't got that much money. You know, like, you know, the Queen is not the richest person on the planet anymore. It's meant to be, you know, Harry Potter or whatever. When it's not, so they're not telling the truth. And then when, you know, Philip pops his clogs, they don't want the will to be known. It's all secret. This is the problem. You know, there's some. There are serious issues. There's money when you have a war, right? Let's say now, right, for example, the Tories want wanted to do loads of building with Balfour Beatty and Taylor Wimpey. They wanted to go berserk with building, and now we've all been complaining, about the footpaths. They wanted to stop us registering footpaths as part of it. There's all these people complaining about HS2, people complaining they don't want the villages changed, and the look of the village and appearance has been ruined. And all these bars in town, and all these bars and barriers in town, security state. People are kicking off, and now the government said, oh, well, okay, then we're going to involve the community decision more in building. So what's happened now is, now they've kicked off in Russia and had a war, so that's going to be less. If they're going to agree to not take away the right to object to building, they're going to be out of pocket for Taylor Wimpey and Balfour Beatty and all these building unstoppable, like in Ireland, when you're building 400-dome apartment blocks, boom, 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 like Handale Centres, boom, boom, boom. You'd have to get planning permission from in Ireland when they put in tombs, religious site, dolmens in shopping centres, which makes it psychologically acceptable to build right up to and next to and even around ancient tombs, which it's not, because they either belong in a church yard or a church, which is a holy site, or protected under the United Nations Religious Site Protection, legally, international law, European law, United Nations, which we're part of, not the EU, UN, right? But in Ireland, I don't think the Irish know what the hell's going on. What's Jerry Adams doing? And Kate Hui? I think they're living in La La Land. She's meant to be Labour, though, so, you can't, that says everything, What is this, some sort of, recommends for Manchester or what? Boom, 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 it's like Doc Brown when the DeLorean, Irish car, when this baby hits 400 people, you're going to some serious shit. Yeah, well, you can't object to it. Boom, boom, boom. You don't have 400 apartment blocks. Just like Bono and U2, building them in Spain. Boom, boom, boom. Apartment blocks exploding everywhere, right next to. And Ireland happens to be covered in ancient sites. What they're going to do when they start, when there's a lot of these ancient sites around, it's going to stop the building projects unless they get into people's heads to accept it, Irish people. No, it's all right. There's a dolmen, there's a dead, deceased ancient Irish ancestor there, which we've strewn around and contaminated the DNA, and no one knows who his ancestor is now, because we've totally violated it and pulled its bones around like Cromwell, and scribbled its name out and changed the spelling of it, and now you're shocked till you drop. It's absolutely ridiculous. Who's behind it? We know who's behind it. We know who's behind it. The British aristocracy. We've proved it. Who might have a grievance and grudge with Ireland and their ancestors? British aristocracy. Who's behind Ken Holmes? He ain't some leprechaun. Who he? Jerry Adams. Who is behind these companies? Boom, boom, boom. 400 apartment blocks in Ireland. There's a shopping centre around the Dolmen. Who is it? Who is it? Who's behind it? We know who's freaking behind it. Ronald McFrickin Donald. Who's Ronald McDonald? It's British aristocracy. And the worst thing is, because half of Ireland are drunk on Guinness and stuff in the face full of Greg's pasties and McDonald's, they're actually singing along with it in a drunk stupor, playing a fiddle, thinking that it's the next best thing, with a leprechaun hat on, while they're dancing their own bones into the ground, along with the deaf tune. Dancing around the shopping centre with handbags over their own ancestors' bodies. It is insane! Insanity! This is the problem. We know who's behind it. We know who's behind all of it. Because it don't matter. The worst thing is, right, anything you buy, they win. Because they make money out of it. Right? The only time, even when they don't get their own way, right, they still win. Because there's no losing when you literally own everything, because it doesn't matter which product you buy or choose another one, they win. Now, the only thing, when they're not winning, they're winning. They're just not getting their own way. When they're not getting their own way, they are making money out of us still, and they're still winning. They're only just not winning as much because they're not getting their own way, but they're still beating us and making a profit out of it. Their ultimate goal is to have every single thing go their way and have everyone else agree with it and go along with it. That's the problem, which revolves around them and their history being People are even celebrating their own history or doing family tree. It's all been deleted. It's literally, you go into, York Cathedral, or it's, Sir whoever, Sir Potter or whatever it is laid out. It literally is, it's every single thing is the meditation, memory of their history and existence being commemorated and celebrated, and everything else, it seems to be being changed, edited, erased, removed, built on the top of, discredited, defamed, defamation, brigands, brigantes are reduced to brigands, O'Connells, O'Neills, O'Donohues, and the rest of them are naughties, and all the roundhouses and huts and clog teach are lockups for naughty people. It's breed and lockup. It's and then, sugar rots your teeth. It's got no nutritional value whatsoever and no mineral value whatsoever. Effectively, it is useless. The last thing that I would want advice from a doctor when I had chickenpox was drink a bottle of Lucozade, which is a bottle of sugar, which, who makes money out of that bottle of Lucozade when the doctors... Oh, there's 1 million doctors in England. We've all got chickenpox. He's telling them to go buy Lucozade. Who's making money out of that? And what good's that doing me? Sweet F.A. In fact, I would prosecute for crime. I would prosecute, never mind Jonathan N. Fuller, going on about, genocide. When you have got an illness, what you need to eat is minerals and vitamins for your body to heal, which it uses not only to mend teeth, repair teeth and bone, but also potassium to charge your energy and bones and vitamins and minerals. Yet we've got wild garlic growing everywhere, nettles growing everywhere, literally, which cost nothing. Because you can go out and pick them, particularly if you're at the caravan site with chicken pox when they're growing nettles all around. But what are the doctor told to say? Go make some chicken soup. Or buy a bottle of Lucozade. Who owns that? Making the money out of the shares of it. Guess who? Right? And now we've got COVID flying around, the monkeypox. Right? Yeah, we've still been, eat fish and chips. McDonald's, the Colonel, who's behind that? Right? It is genocide. Jonathan N. Fuller is only interested in genocide in other countries in Africa. I think he's actually... Because the worst thing is, we're all addicted, and they've got it to a point now where we fight to have it because we want these foods because they taste nice and we like them. We're actually addicted to them. Yet, it's actually destroying the people. And then when you try and help your own village, help your own people to become healthy, they don't want the help, and you actually are hindering them, and they're singing, God Save the Queen, marching up and down like beef eaters, actually opposing you and blocking you on Facebook groups. They're actually they've gone fighting against you, and then when you're trying to protect your beautiful village and make it, what's nice and save it, then they get the village pulling it to bits. They're actually pulling their own village to bits and building it into some sort of prison fortress. And actually, then arguing that it's a good idea and the best thing to do. They've literally got us divided. And now, in the name of progress, it's not progress. There are serious issues. There are real serious issues. It's crime. But apparently, they can only be judged by their equals in Parliament, supposedly. Unless you take them to the Supreme Court. We need some Supreme Court cases. There are people out there who can get evidence and bring cases to the Supreme Court. Doctors are being told to tell patients to drink a bottle of sugar, Lucozade, and chicken soup when they're ill, right? which is all money to this organisation, not go out, get some nettles and some wild garlic leaves, which are free and will actually make you a hell of a lot better. And part of the reason why you're probably not healing as much is because we're overweight. It's all for money and profit. What is the progress in that? 1985. We need progress. I've got chicken pox and I'm off to the doctors. How can we have progress? The doctor tells me to stop eating sweets and go pick some nettles and wild garlic and make myself a soup. And then it'll get better, right? Or is progress purchasing 15 bottles of sugar-filled Lucozade? That's what will make you better. And it's a progress for the aristocracy's Lucozade Company Incorporated. And in the future, in the far future of 2020, they will have accumulated progress of a mighty empire of BlackRock and Vanguard. When, everyone's dead, buried, and the bones being pulled around like freaking Cromwell's dragged around, pulled out looking for gold. When the real gold was growing next to the caravan site in the bushes, which would have made me healthier and not got ill in the freaking first place. But that's progress, and all Elon Musk is bothered about is the next battery that lasts 5 times as long, and his radiant-cooled satellite car and his implant into your brain. That's progress. Where was the progress in the brain of the doctor in 1985? While they were busy filming Kes, flying a Kestrel around, with Judd's Bay nods. This is the problem.